I approve some of these resumes. But that's also to say that sometimes you can have a good document and can also be made better into something great. Or it can be great. So I'm gonna kind of introduce myself. My name is Anna Swenson. I am a career consultant with the Center for Career Opportunities. It's in Young Palm, the second floor, that big blue building right like behind Cranard. Like if anybody knows where that is. It's a fun place. Come visit me sometimes. I specifically like working with the Veteran Military Success Center. One, because this is like one of the only events that like has food after hours. Nobody else does this, okay? So that's just like a plug to go to these as much as you can. Free food, can't beat it. But also, my husband was in the Air Force for 6 years. He was, I think the official name was Aerospace Component Journeyman. He worked on A-10 jet engines. If you ask me to go any deeper than that, I don't know. He made planes go. That's what I. Sometimes he didn't and he'd get in trouble. But planes go. One thing that I think is really important here, especially for those who had been in the military previously that got out, and I speak from this from experience, that you might have had some sort of like getting out club where you had to go sit in front of somebody and be told how to do resumes by a person that has never in their life had to make a resume. I know that because my husband had to do that and it was abysmal. So here is a resume writing workshop from somebody who's actually had to make a resume before in my life. And also I see so many resumes every single. It's really fun. I'll see yours too if you want. But not before you take some of these steps in mind. So first things first, I like to start with an opening question. And my opening question is, what does a good job look like? You guys can answer me too. And this is very personal. What does a good job look like to you?
It's a job that meets your needs on a fairly basic level, but you enjoy it at least a little bit. Like there's some jobs where it meets the necessity of your life, but you go in and you're miserable. But the job is one that you can actually want to show up to work.
Okay, one that meets your needs, but you actually want to show up to work. Good. Yes.
I think some level of fulfillment, whether that's like true happiness, I don't know, but a job where you can feel good about working there, even if it's maybe not your like dream job, it still fits your needs and gives you that sense of fulfillment.
And I like what you said about maybe not your dream job, but still gives you that sense of fulfillment, because a lot of folks, when they're in this space and they're graduating, they feel like that first job out of college is the end all be all. They're gonna feel great about what they do. They're just gonna absolutely love it. Chances are it's probably not gonna be that way, and it might not be that way for one thing. You might find a job that's pretty close to your perfect, but you might not find a job that is your perfect. Does anybody else have any ideas of what a good job looks like? I think we kind of covered it too. And I like bringing this question up and I like asking it because what is the whole point of a resume? It's getting the interview to get that job. And you right now, if you have not like yet started looking at internship and job postings, like now is a good time to do it. But not only because if you want to kind of figure out what your future is after this space, but also those jobs and internet postings that you see, those positions are going to inform what goes on your resume. So kind of start thinking about that now. So we're going to kind of talk about 4 main things when it comes to the resume. We're going to talk about the look of the resume, the content, what do employers want from you, and then how to prepare yourself for success. Basically just some resources that we have at the CCO that are available to you. And I like to go talk about the look first, because, you know, you see these books, if you flip the page from the words, generally that's the look of the resume. And I kind of want to explain why resumes generally look that way. So, look, at the very top, you're going to have your header. Your name should be the biggest thing on the resume. It's the first thing folks see. That's the most important. Under your name, you want them to be able to contact you if they like you. A phone number as well as an email. I will say that it's okay to have your Purdue email on your resume right now, but as you're getting ready to graduate, make sure that you have a nice personal professional email that you're gonna be able to access in 6 months post-graduation. And I cannot stress enough, a nice personal professional email. You know, don't put numbers in there, don't let them know like your age or anything through those numbers. And be cognizant of what your name is as you're writing that resume. Because for example, I have to have a nice resume for myself when I'm like doing professional things. My name is Anna Louise Swenson. I thought ANNALSWENSON would be a good email. I said that to my dad. He said ANNAL. So it's now Swenson L. Anna, just to let you know. So be kind of aware of that too. Other things that you can have on your resume include your address, your LinkedIn URL, and a portfolio if that applies to you. I will say that for the address, as you can see, this person has just put Lafayette, Indiana, and the zip code. Don't put your street address. That's like from days gone by where they might send you a thing in the mail. If an employer sends you something in the mail, I don't even know what to say for that. They might, I don't know, probably not. But also, too, if you're kind of looking for positions outside of your hometown or the place where you're currently staying, you don't even need to have the city and state. You can just forgo the address completely. Other things you can include, some folks include coursework, which is kind of fair. But I will say too, if you have more relevant things to put on the resume, you might forgo coursework because how is that coursework any different than any other mechanical engineer or business student? So some things that I don't recommend putting on that part is your nationality. Sorry, I got too ahead of myself when it comes to the coursework. That was more for the education. I'm a little bit frazzled today. But anyway, something that's recommended not to put on the resume is your nationality, your visa status, your relationship status. Yesterday, I saw somebody put, because I did a resume thing yesterday for a test. I saw so many resumes and I saw one person who put their relationship status, their birthday, and their nationality all on the resume. And I said, get all that off, please. I will say that you might put US citizen if you are looking for specifically like aerospace/government roles. They might like that information. But also too, I hazard to say, have a discussion with somebody before you do that, like we do with Brian or a career consultant like me, to really see if that would be a good move for the resume. Now we get to our education. See, look at me. Okay, so some things I want you to do include putting on your major and your minor. And when you're putting your major up there, I actually want you to spell it out. No BS. We don't like BS here. We like Bachelor of Science. And so this person put Bachelor of Science in Agribusiness, concentration in finance, and underneath that, they put minor crop science. So very important to put those things. You can add your intended graduation month and year. This person put graduation May 2026, but it's completely fair just to put May 2026. We're gonna hope that employers are smart enough to realize that's just when you're graduating without any extra thing on it. And then we get to the coursework. Like I said, relevant coursework, you can put that in the education section, but kind of think, is that coursework any different or gonna make you stand out any more than another student? Things you can also put include your GPA. If you do, make sure that's out of 4.0. If you're sitting there thinking, I don't have a great GPA, we didn't have to put it on there. Other things you can put on there are technical skills. But you can also save those technical skills for a later section of the resume. So those are some things with the education. Yes.
So like if you have an initial degree, the GPA necessarily, like if I already have a Bachelor of Arts, it's like maintain that same information and then put your next degree that you're pursuing on there with your GPA.
Yes.
Okay.
But I would actually say the degree that you're currently pursuing should go above the bachelor's.
Okay.
Because that's what you're like, that's the most important thing. Well, that's what you're selling yourself on now. And that is also a good thing to kind of know. If you have a GPA on one education, you need to have it on the other education. If you don't have it on one and you don't want it on that one, it shouldn't be anywhere on there.
Okay.
Consistency is key when it comes to the resume. So the next section that you typically have is your experience section. So it can be in chronological order or functional order. I usually say that a functional order might be better for like an in-person engagement when you're actually physically handing that resume to somebody. And the functional is kind of grouping like skills together or like experiences together. The chronological resume is really good if you're handing that in or supplying that in for a online system, and it's helpful for the applicant tracking system. Who in here is familiar with the applicant tracking system? So, okay, some of us, not about half the room. And don't worry, we're gonna talk about the applicant tracking system later, for those who don't know. Just know right now, chronological order, most importantly, reverse chronological order, is friendly for the applicant tracking system. So I also want to say that not every work experience needs to be on the resume. So, you know, if you had a high school experience, you know, where you worked at Target, probably take that off at this point, unless you know that whoever you are applying to would really like to know that you worked at Target when you were 17. I will also say that if you have military experience that is like years behind you, you might consider like making sure that military experience is represented somewhere on the resume, even if it's just like 2 bullet points or so, because usually, luckily, we're hoping that folks have a positive bias for veterans and military. And so you want to use that bias to your advantage when it comes to the job sphere. And that kind of goes for anything. If you know that there's some sort of positive bias that you can exploit when it comes to the job search, go ahead and exploit it, as long as it doesn't hurt. You can also have other sections on there, like I already talked about the skills section. You can also have extracurriculars, achievements, and just projects you've done, like class projects are fair game. I've even seen people put personal projects. And my kind of thought there is that an employer just wants to know that you have a specific skill. They don't care that you got that skill in class. They just want to know that you have that skill. And extracurriculars and so on can just kind of help you stand out as a well-rounded candidate. And I will say that if you've got something kind of unique about yourself that it doesn't necessarily relate to the job or the field that you're interested in, you might consider putting that on the resume too, because the people that are looking through resumes for the position that you're trying to get hired for, they might see somebody with like 50 similar projects. You know, are they going to remember 50 people with 50 similar projects? Probably not. But if they see something unique on their resume, that might stick in their mind, and you as a candidate might stick in their mind at the end of the day. So those are some tips when it comes to that. One last note on the look. Margins, like the top of it, can be between 0.8 inches and 1 inch. The sides and the bottom can be between 0.5 and 1 inch. And I like to bring this up, especially for somebody who's like fighting for space on the resume. Make sure that your margins are optimized. Make sure that your font is optimized. Font is usually in the body is usually 10 to 12 inches. Make sure that your words are all simple, usually Times New Roman, Calgary, and so on. And I will say, if you're an undergraduate student, make sure that your resume is 1 page. If you are a master's level student or a PhD student, you can have 2 pages. But I'd also say, if you're applying for something in the industry, think about that recruiter. Is that recruiter going to have enough attention span to get to a 2nd page? The recruiter might not even have enough attention span to get to the bottom of your 1 page. But that really also depends on industry. Make sure you talk to folks in industry if you're a master's student and you're considering 2-page resume. So next things next is the content. So this is like the most important part of the resume and what's going to get you noticed and what's going to get you called in for that interview. So here are some general tips. This is what I mean by the content. It's the bullet points, basically. So I really recommend that you have 2 to 5 bullet points per experience. This person has 3. Some things that you can do to help yourself stand out is quantifying where you can. And that just kind of means putting numbers in your resume. And there's a couple different reasons you do that. One, when somebody has your resume in hand and they're scanning through it, their eyes are probably going to catch on those numbers. 2, that's the easiest way to show your impact. So, for example, if you, and I'm using this example because it's on the top of my mind, if you were working on a jet engine and with a team of 4 people and you're leading that jet engine team, you said led 4 people in fixing this jet engine. That 4 is a number you can quantify. Or if you had a successful jet engine fix rate, see, you can tell I really paid attention when my husband complained to me later after work. If you had a successful jet engine fix rate of 98% or something, you say that is a success rate of 98%. Those are all quantifying data. That's all fair game. I would also say if you're kind of struggling to figure out your impact or what to put in these bullet points, you can definitely just use your performance evaluations that you got while in the military to kind of inform what that data should be. That is completely fair game. But also too, if you're like somebody who's like military connected, not necessarily been in the military, if you've had other jobs and things before, you can use those performance evaluations as well. So let's talk about the bullet point. This is the thing that like makes or breaks the resume. And this is one of the things that all the time when I get a resume, I am talking about. So here's an example of a bullet point. Analyze documentations and presented findings to hospital management team. That's an okay sentence, right? It tells us your skill, which is our power group, which is analyzed. It tells us the task that you did. You analyzed these documentations and then you presented those findings. But how is that any different from anybody else in this role? Right? That's just the task that they've done that anybody who gets hired does. What we want to do here in this bullet point is show your specific impact. And what I mean by that is turning that bullet point into a skill statement. And I know that Brian was talking about earlier in that book, that middle page has a black box that has this specific formula and kind of explains the purpose, method, and result. So we're turning that bullet point into our skill statement by adding that purpose. So you did all that thing with the documentation and the presented findings to develop a more efficient process to evaluate fall risk for patients. Do we kind of see how this is a more full sentence and has better impact? Yeah. And I will say last week in this room, and I know some of us were actually here last week, so full stars for you, were here last week. And when I was doing a career preparation thing. But last week we had Amazon who actually came in and sat in our career prep presentation. There we go. You can tell I'm a little bit tired. But when they were sitting here, they were talking about interview. And one of the Amazon reps was talking about the most important thing that you can do in an answer to an interview is have that result piece. In fact, they recommend starting with that result piece when you're talking through that interview question. Alternatively, before you get to that interview, you can have that result piece in your bullet points. Like I said, that shows your impact. It shows folks what you can do it shows folks what you did at the previous position and what you can do possibly in their position. So even if you can't do result, make sure you're doing the surface or the method of what you did. Very, very important. Makes it a little bit more interesting. So let's kind of practice with this a little bit. How can we make this bullet point better? Assistant staff sergeant on projects and presented findings to group of E2s and E3s. And you can kind of, if you can't like figure out like a full bullet point, just tell me different things I can do to make this bullet point better. I feel like we made this easy too, guys. Come on.
You can quantify the type of projects and then I would ditch the assistant staff sergeant.
Yeah.
And just, if you're the one that's, taking bulk of the wages, say that you're the one that's leading it, or whatever verb you want to throw in there.
Good.
Yes.
General population outside of the military will not know what E2 and E3s are.
Correct.
And so maybe you just get rid of it or say like presented to a group of, like, I don't know.
Junior staff members.
Lose the jargon on any bullet point.
Yeah.
Put it into corporate terms as opposed to military terms.
Yeah.
Because you guys know the military loves their jargon, but to the outside world, kind of gibberish. So yeah, those are some things that I would recommend.
And it's missing. What's missing? A result. What's the outcome? What was the method, the purpose, or the result? Look, so as a former military leader and a current civilian leader, there's something that's very, very important to leadership. It means it gets measured. If you want to know something really matters, find out if it's being measured. I mean, think about it. So for my former military folks in the room, how many times was there a slant report on the vehicle statuses? How many, were you getting, like weekly measuring how many vehicles were ready to go to work today? Was that measured?
Twice a day.
Okay, so that's very, very important. How often was there a briefing that involved the number of troops that weren't on profile or whatever? Right, so these are things that are important. So that's a cue to you about anything that's important to leadership or management is, are they measuring it? If the answer is yes, that's important. It's something that they're really, really focused on. So by proxy, if you come at an employer with a bullet that has no measurement on it, what you're kind of saying between the lines is you did a thing, but that thing wasn't really that important, or you would have a measurable result. Like if it was a really important function you were providing for your organization and achieving a really important result, there'd be a measurement on it someplace. Some way, somehow, it would have a number associated with it. It would be measured. It's not 1,000% true all the time, but that's true a lot of the time and enough of the time that that's the trend. So as a former hiring manager who would be reading resumes, trying to figure out who I wanted to call for an interview, if I saw bullets all the way down a resume that there was a measurable thing on there, yeah, you probably worked your butt off doing all kinds of great and wonderful things for your folks, but you weren't necessarily doing any of the important work. I'm really impressed that you managed to keep your floor mopped, you know, impeccably, flawlessly, without even so much as a ketchup packet being smashed on it, whatever. That's really admirable and good job for being a professional at your task. But that wasn't a critical function for the organization. So it wasn't a measurable thing. So that's just something to think about. So if you're sitting there writing a bullet, you're like, I don't know, maybe that's not the strongest bullet to reference. Maybe it's an ancillary bullet if you can incorporate that in that section with a couple of other bullets that have measurable results. You know what I'm saying? And the other thing I'll tell you about bullets real quick, and then I'll shut up and let Anna keep going, is don't necessarily limit yourself to thinking in the terms of your MOS and your specific job. There is so much that we did in our time in the military that wasn't, I was an infantryman. So my job was running, jumping, climbing trees, and shooting bad guys. I did way more than that in 22 years. Like I spent most of my 22 years doing something else, right? Whether it was being charge of quarters, whether it was being staff duty, whether it was being, you know, honor guard, ROTC, whatever. Like I had a billion different tasks and functions. Even when I was here as an ROTC instructor, I was also the PT instructor. I was also the supply sergeant. I was also the pistol rifle coach. I was also the color guard NCOIC. So like, even though my job was military science instructor, I was doing a multitude of different tasks. Those tasks can be very valuable bullet points too. We have a student in our organization that was talking about how she didn't have anything relevant to put on her resume for what she did, but she was part of the task team that planned the battalion ball. And I said, well, wait a minute. So that means you've communicated, coordinated with venues. You've communicated, coordinated with catering. You communicated, coordinated with decorations and supplies and all the, and then constituents. And I know none of that stuff went perfect the whole time. So you had to think on your feet and problem solve as the process was evolving. There's no battalion ball has ever gone flawlessly from planning to execution. And she sat there and she was like, oh my God, I hadn't even thought about that. Like it was just a detail I got put on. But that's actually some of the most relevant experience I have for what I'm going for in my degree. I said, that's the kind of stuff you have to think of. You've got to peel that onion back and look at the depth and the breadth of your experiences in the military. All of the crazy things that you had to get your hands around, those can all be very, very valuable things to put on your resume to catch the eye of that employer.
Okay, so as we talk about like the chronological employment, right? Like the norm for resume is job, a couple bullets with that job, then next job you held a couple jobs, but like I'm more thinking,
It's subjective. Go ahead.
but like you hold, like in the span of 7 years, you hold 6 different jobs in the Army. Is that under the one title of the United States Army from blank to blank, and then all of the subsequent positions you've held?
I didn't list mine that way. I listed my job experiences as the title I held when I was in that role.
Okay.
So, can you flip back on your slides to that? Do you have that one demonstration, one that's on there that shows like experience?
Yes.
Yeah, okay. So, for mine, I actually had my job title as the top, so where it says Spring Meadow Nursery Incorporated. I had what my job title was, and then I had the organization I worked for underneath it.
Okay.
It was just how I formatted mine.
Okay.
In reality, it was like, I said like, senior level operations manager. I was brigade at NCOIC, or ops NCOIC. And so I put, United States Army, Fort Riley, Kansas, as my little blurb on there for that job. And then I had other ones. And as far as the chronological stuff went, I'm a weird example because I had such a long career. I had huge gaps in some of my experiences because only some of my military experiences were relevant for that particular job. And so I pulled it. So I loved what you had on your example where you had the header. It says relevant experience, not just experience. Because some people will look at that and say, if it just says experiences or experience, and then they see the 8-year gaps between things, they're like, well, that's kind of weird. But if you're talking about relevant experience, you're cueing them in that, hey, I'm not giving you everything. I'm just giving you the stuff that matters most
Right.
and how I best fit for your role according to your job description. Right?
Right.
So that's a key point. And then those were listed chronologically in reverse order, so the most recent to the furthest back. But every one of them, I just listed the employer as US Army.
Okay.
Just,
And
yeah.
Because he had two different things that he did, he had during the same job, but like two different kind of roles within that job.
of course.
And I can show you that.
Okay.
And I will say that some of this stuff is more fluid than you might think.
Yep.
So like relevant experience, that's not a job title, that's not a header that everybody has to have.
Right.
Heck, you can even have like job experience, project experience. It can be what you need it to be. So, and Brian talked about this a little bit already, but I wanted to talk to you about transferable skills or skills that you develop in one job that you can then say or use in another position. And so like he did an excellent example of the person who did the ball. Is it a ball?
Yep, a time ball.
Did a baton ball. You might think of things that you've done during your military experience that are transferable to the positions that you want now. And then usually I also tell students, think about the similarities between the positions that you've had and the positions you want. In your resume, bring out those similar positions because you're showing that you've already done those things. And then that will just, help. So translating experience, other things that I would you kind of ask yourself are what transferable skills do you have from your military experience? What of your military experience should be on your resume? And what tasks not directly related to your job could be transferable skills? Those are questions that you want to ask yourself in this space. And so like, another example too, like my husband, he was in the back shop and he worked for a little bit like the tool crib. And he, one of the things he did was he reorganized the tool crib to be on an Excel spreadsheet for ease of finding these things and just organization. And so he had to learn how to use Excel. That was not something that he got taught at like in his technical school or anything like that. That's something he taught himself to do his job better. And plus it's kind of cool too, when nobody else had thought to do that as well. It's improving the station. So like I said, user performance evaluations. And like that especially helps when you're trying to figure out quantifying, because those performance evaluations, we're having people like, oh, how many jet engines did you fix? Let's put that number up and blah, blah, blah. So performance evaluations, things that might not be directly related to the role that you're looking for or the role that you did include volunteer opportunities, teaching and mentoring others, support for the overall mission, awards that you received while in the military. Those are all fair games. And like we said again, use a section heading to highlight your different experience, like leadership, technology, honors, and award. Those things are more fluid than you might think. So we also have this handy dandy tool that can kind of help you translate experience or like words that are more military jargon to more civilian friendly terms. So like, MFOS, career field, TDY, business travel. And we've got a QR code there. I think I put the slide out for this. Yes, I have a brand new thing to show everybody. So if you've been at Purdue for a long time, you might recognize or remember we had something called BMOC, which was a resume checker that we used. Well, we retired BMOC and now we are using something called WiseDoc. And WiseDoc is just another AI resume thingy. And so what we have here, or what I have here is helping me build that resume. And so they promised me that you'd be able to find your MOS and get that job description to help input the role description. And so I played around with that today, and I did my brother's MOS from the Marine Corps. When he told me that his role title was supply administration, and so I typed that up here. You have to go to Veteran Guide, and then I typed it in here. And I tried typing supply administration, and didn't find anything for me. Then I just tried typing supply, and it gave me the exact MOS he told me. And then it puts the summary and duties right here for you. And so you might use this tool to help write the roles that you have, because this tells you everything that you did, maybe should have done while you're in. And so that's a tool that you can use. And like I said, you have to play on that a little bit. So I tried to put like aerospace, propulsion, journeyman, and it did not like that. So I just tried aerospace, propulsion, and it did like that. And it found me my husband's MOS. So that's on our new tool, WiseDoc, and we do have a QR code for that later. But this is kind of. And I will say that like it tells you can generate things with AI. And then, like I said, this is a new tool, so we're still learning it. And in general, we really say don't create things with majority AI, because one thing I noticed on this tool, if you hit that button, it'll make things up for you. Like, did this thing by 30%. Be aware of that. Don't just copy and paste. Be smart about this, people. So that's WiseDoc. And if you have any questions, please come find me in the Career Center, or maybe Brian will play around with it and figure it out too.
That's a really cool tool because a lot of what we do when we're in the military kind of just becomes automatic autopilot stuff. We don't think about it anymore because it's something you're doing 5 times a day, 5 days a week for 20 years, and you just stop acknowledging the thing that's happening. And so this is a great tool because it goes through those duties and lists that stuff out, and you can be like, oh yeah, I totally forgot. That was a part of my job. I had that function. It was just something I just kind of did on autopilot and didn't really think about it. And it just kind of gets the brain going on some of the stuff that was associated with your job.
Now, I promised we would talk about the applicant tracking system, or ATS. So for those of you who are unfamiliar with it, ATS is just a software that companies will use to filter through resumes that they get submitted in an online application system. And it's not that they necessarily throw away resumes, rather they rank resumes by relevancy to the job description. So if they get like 100 resumes in, they're going to rank those 100 resumes 1 to 100. That recruiter probably is only going to look at like maybe the first 10 or 20 at first to get those candidates. And if they have 5 slots for candidates and they find those 5 and that one 10 to 20, they're not going to look at those. So some things to know about the applicant tracking system. It does not like templates. So stay away from templates, stay away from things like Canva. Instead, we suggest formatting and building it on something like a Word document. I will say that too, that this tool also helps you build a resume, and I like built a play resume with it, and that will then you can download it as a Word document, but always download that Word document into a PDF and then send that PDF in. Don't do a Word document, do the PDF. The ATS will also detect and reject resumes that are majority built with AI. So like if you do use AI in that sphere or to help write bullet points, make sure that it's mostly you writing it. The AI can kind of help polish things, but it should not be a tool. No, it should be a tool. It should not be a crutch. Sorry, I misspoke. A tool, not a crutch. Has trouble reading templates and boxes. I've seen somebody use a resume where they put like the tables to help formatting. Has trouble reading that too, as well as columns. So that's the applicant tracking system. So next we kind of come to what do employers want? Because ultimately that resume is getting us that interview, right? And so who are they going to want to interview but people that have the skills that they want? There are some things you need to ask yourself. One, who is your audience? What does your audience want? And how can you match the skills that you already have with the skills of the audience? There's a couple different ways that you can do this. But before we get into those ways, I want to ask you, what are some attributes that employers want? And you can just tell me, like, just shout it out.
Competent.
Confident, yeah.
Leader.
Leader, okay, good.
Critical thinking.
Critical thinking, good. Problem solving, good. Yes,
Communication.
communication, good.
And in that vein, we have Pamela from RTX on the call from remote, so we have an employer in the room. So if you've got questions about resumes and stuff that you would like to ask of a employer partner, she's with us virtually.
And tip, use the employer partners, folks. Please, 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 because this is the whole point. You can just ask them what they want. You can just do that. So some attributes that employers want. Luckily, the National Association of Colleges and Employers asks employers what they want every year from employees. And this is the list most recent. And so if you can't really read that, number one is problem solving skills, gold star. 2 is ability to work in a team, teamwork, communication skills, specifically written. Initiative, you kind of said something, somebody said something, strong work ethic. Yeah. So all of those things are soft skills. So not something that you can necessarily read in a book. Luckily for you guys, a lot of you have had the opportunity to learn your people skills more or less. So that's going to come out strong. So soft skills. And one thing I'll say about these is that you will not list these in a skill section. You would put these in your bullet points. Skill sections are more for those technical or hard skills. Other ways you can find out what employers want includes the company website. Go to the company website, read the mission statement, read the projects they have, find out who worked for them at some point. That was an important person. Knowing that will show that you've done your research and that you care for the company. You can also use CCO resources. We've got a lot of resources. You have one of them in front of you. Use that resource. You can also talk to me, a career consultant, and on call, or we can do it virtually. We also have a website you can use. Other thing you can kind of look at is career trend in the industry of your choice, to kind of see what's happening. You can use the job description to find out what people want. That's kind of like a, oh yeah, duh. Of course, can use the job description. That's literally them listing out what they want. And you can also talk to people at the company. Because sometimes that's the best way to do it too. Because there might be things that a person who works at the company can tell you that did not necessarily get in the job description. Because sometimes the person in a specific office is like, okay, here's my job description, has to send it to HR, and HR has to put their fingers in it, and then after that, it gets sent out to you. So they might be able to tell you things about that office that you're interested in that's not going to be in the job description or on the website.
That was like the workshop we had last week when we had Amazon with us. The rep said like 4 different times that one of their big things is that you align with their organizational values, their company's values. They're looking for people who are going to be Amazonians. Like, we can teach you how to do the functions. We can teach you how to do other things. Yes, there are some positions we require certain skills for, but we're really looking for the right kind of people. And you weren't necessarily reading all of that in the job description. You were getting that by talking to the people at the company. What are those things that help set a student or potential candidate apart? What are some things that are those gold star, like, aha, when you're talking to somebody about, different roles that makes them stick out in your mind? What did the students that you remember do to be memorable? Those are all great questions to ask those people.
So one thing that I also want to talk about when it comes to finding current employees, here are a list of folks that you might have already in your circle or in your connection sphere that you should reach out to. Hint, hint, Brian is an excellent person to reach out to for top companies. One thing that I also want you to encourage you to kind of do is like find empowering within yourself to ask questions for you too. Because you want to make sure that that company culture is something that you can vibe with. If for some reason, you're talking to somebody they might say, don't work at this place, it's horrible. Or they might say, yeah, this place is great, I get to travel all the time, and I never get to see my kids, but you're like, hey, I kind of like my kids, I kind of want to see my kids. You know, you might find out that place is not for you. You can also ask, how do you can make yourself a better candidate in the future? Because, you know, right now, I don't know where we're at in college, but if you're like kind of earlier on, this is a great moment to kind of build yourself up for those skills. But if you're kind of later on too, they might say, oh, we need these quick certifications or these quick skills that you can learn like that and be able to put on your resume. So find current employees and talk to them. Another skill that I said, right, is use the job description. So what I want you to do is kind of read through this. You can all see it, okay? I want you to go through this real quick and you can talk to the person next to you. You can talk to me. I don't, you know, however it is. Find 2 skills that are soft skills that the employer is seeking and find 2 technical or specific job skills that this employer is seeking. I'm gonna go over here so I can read it.
While you're reading, just a pro tip, if you find something that's been repeated twice or more on a job description, that's probably a really important thing. Because if that's generally speaking, a person writing these, probably with the assistance of AI, but generally speaking, a person writing the job descriptions. If they've said something in particular in multiple places, like I'll just pick out an example, it's not one on here, but talks about the design, development, installation of data acquisition and control solutions. So you could see design development there, and then a few bullets later, there's design development. A few bullets later, design development, lower down on the job description, design development. It's clear that they're looking for somebody that has the capability to design and develop, you know, different things. And so that ends up being a critical function. You start talking about more technical stuff, if like they start talking about like Python or C++, or they've got those kinds of things and it appears in a couple of different places. Those are really, really important to those employers because a lot of times, even subconsciously, it's something that's on their mind as they're sitting there crafting this job description. And so it ends up just falling onto the page in a couple of different places.
Say, even like words like this, they have experience. That's not necessarily like a, what you call it, it's necessarily like a skill. But the fact that they're saying experience like 3 times in a row, you might make sure that you put the word experience somewhere where it makes sense in the resume. Any soft skills, folks?
Come on, you see one, I know you do.
Organizational and time management.
Okay, good, thank you. Organizational time management, yes.
See another one.
Problem solving skills.
Okay,
Yeah.
good, thank you. What about our 2 technical or specific skills? What is that view? Yeah, and if you don't, if you're like sitting here and you're like, I'd like to apply for this job, but you don't know what the heck lab view is, you better find out.
Because it's mentioned 2 bullets in a row.
No, don't lie on your resume. If you don't know what it is, find out what it is. Don't worry. Any other technical skill?
Experience and application of sensors.
Yeah, that's it, good. They also mentioned like design, develop, implementation of data acquisition, data management, storage, and interface hardware. So do we kind of understand how it's critical to use the job description to inform what goes on your resume? And usually what I'll do when I'm looking for jobs, I'm not looking for jobs, I like my job, but when I am looking for jobs, I'll literally take this, copy and paste it into a Word document and highlight everything that I noticed that they're saying multiple times, or just kind of those keywords that I feel are important. And I make sure that's in my resume and or in my cover letter. So different ways that we can prepare for success when it comes to the resume. So here are some things that you can do to get started now. Check out your job postings, see what skills are required, like for that lab view thing. If you're like sitting here, I don't know what that view is, see what it is, see if you can get experience in it somehow. Attend career fairs, and that would be nice. Is there any important career fairs coming up soon? No, not that. Oh, yeah, I'm sure, whatever. Everybody and their mom's going to IR. Okay. Yes, thank you. Say that louder.
Military Connected Career Fair.
And when is it?
Monday night.
Monday night, folks. You know why you want to go to that one? Like I said, everybody and their mom's going to IR. But people who are going to that career fair specifically want to talk to veterans and military connected people. And if you go to any career fair on campus this year, make it that one. That's probably going to be the one you find the most success at anyway. So,
In this building.
So can I jump in
second
here real
floor,
quick?
Rooms 240, 250, which are the faculty lounges. So if you go to where the VMSE is, and go to the other end of the hall.
Okay.
There's those big event rooms at the end of the hall. There'll be I'll have signs and stuff out front so you can find them. Those are great events to go to. Real quick on the bullets and job postings, can you flip back one? One, two. Okay, so one thing I have done and seen done with some success in the past is if you have an established resume, right? You've got one written and it's good to go. And you're going through here and you're looking at this job description and you're like, man, I feel like I've done this stuff, but I'm not really sure if this bullet hits that, delivers that impact that I think it should. I have seen and have done, copy that job description and copy the bullet in question and put it in the ChatGPT or Gemini or one of the AI bots and say, please reword this bullet to be most applicable for this job description. I'm not saying necessarily you take what it spits out and throw it right back on your resume, but it might get you someplace. So I've used those AIs and I've seen them used as basically a resume thesaurus to figure out how to reword something. It's not rewriting, it's not changing the data, it's not changing what you did, but maybe you're just using a different set of words that makes it more in line with that job description. Is going to help you with navigating that ATS system. And it may help capture the eye of that person that's reviewing that resume and deciding whether or not to call you for an interview. So it's a tool, not a crutch, but it is a tool you can use, especially if you're, linguistically challenged and you're trying to think of, fancy words to describe what you did. Fill bucket of water, mop floor might not get it done, but if you use some AI tools, it can fancy it up. So like one of the things I like to say is, I used to be an infantryman, run, jump, climb trees, shoot guns, but then we AI'd it one time and I was a mid-level manager in an international or a multi-billion-dollar international organization that specializes in hostile takeovers. Tell me you're an Army infantryman in any fancier way, I dare you. Right? So like you can fancy it up and make it sound a little bit cooler, at least so that it's attractive. You gotta be able to talk about it afterwards, but it's a way. So sorry to derail it. Go ahead.
So other things you can do to get started, what skills, do you have the skills that are needed? If not, how do you get those skills? And how do you get or refine those skills? So those are some things.
Yeah, so before we move on, I'd like to.
The other
jump
thing you
in.
can do is use
Can you hear me?
MyCCO. MyCCO is the job posting platform here on campus. Employers specifically post positions there specifically for Purdue students. You can log in with your Purdue credentials, see information about jobs, job fairs and postings, create a public profile for employers to see, and you can log in every month the rest being. One thing that you can also do on there is once you have your resume, you feel, yes.
Evelyn, can you hear us now?
I can hear you all.
No,
Can you hear me?
You're off mute, but I can't hear you. Okay. She's typing something. I just wanted to give her the opportunity to speak, but we're having technical difficulties.
So once you have your resume that you feel is in a good shape, I'm gonna say, make sure that you log on to MyCCO and update your resume so that it's on MyCCO. That way employers can actually see you, make sure that it's public. You can also attach that to other career fairs. You can't do that with the military connected career fair, just go to and hand the resume to people there.
Yep.
But here you do not have a limit of how many resumes you can add to career fairs. And I will say, even if you're maybe not going to the IR fair or another career fair, it doesn't cost anything to just click attend and make sure that your resume is attached to it. Just to let you know, that's my pro tip. Yes.
So Pamela was just piggybacking off the idea of attend the other career fairs. because IR is very busy. So for those of you who haven't seen it or participated in it before, it ends up being 400 plus, almost 500 employers out there in the Memorial Mall. And there's a sea of people all standing in line in their bad JCPenney's suits and their backpacks on their backs between classes. And I've seen people wait in line for 2 hours just to talk to a rep from specific companies. Like it can be very overwhelming. It can be too much. Smaller career fairs like the Military Connected Career Fair, like some of the career fairs that are put on by your colleges and in your individual departments, you get a more kind of intimate setting where you can actually sit and have a conversation with somebody. Because it was a couple years ago, I think it was Boeing that had the line that went all the way to the freaking arch. And they weren't talking to anybody. Basically, you got to walk up to them. You said your 30-second elevator pitch. You dropped your resume on the table and roll out. Like that was all they had time for because they were trying to get everybody through. So talking and going to those other career fairs and having a chance to talk to those employers, you get a chance to spend 10 or 15 minutes having a conversation with them and just talk to them like, hey, so what is it that, stands out to you when a student approaches you at a career fair? And most of my employers would be very, very happy to, RTX is coming to the Military Connected Career Fair, Computer Science Career Fair, and was that Ceres Career Fair? So RTX will be at ours. That's Raytheon for those of you that aren't tracking. But talking to them in those settings, you get a chance to actually have a conversation and you can talk to them like, hey, would you mind taking a look at my resume and seeing if there's anything on here that I'm missing? Like, hey, I'm a sophomore. I'm just kind of getting my feet wet in this career fair experience. I want to be well prepared next year when I'm really gunning for an internship. Is there anything I'm missing? Is there something I should be doing this year between now and next year to really make sure that I'm solid? Yeah, you need a C++ and you need Python and you need, these coding languages and you should have a certificate of underwater basket weaving and whatever. And they can help you make sure that you've got a checklist of things. So when you come back the following year, you walk in and you pull like Homeboy did last year at the career fair where he was there for 7 minutes. He talked to an employer for 7 minutes and had a job. Like Joe is my ultimate success story. He's like, I feel good. I'm going down. All right, man. Good luck. He walks back in 7 minutes later. Like, what just happened? I got a job. Like, what? How? But he was ready. He was prepared. He'd done all the things he needed to do to go in there and knock that employer's socks off. So she says, if IR is your only option, come see them. They'll be talking to folks and setting up on-campus interviews. So RTX will have on-campus interviews during next week. If you really want to talk to IR, come to our event and you can talk to them in a much more private setting. The other thing I'll say about the career fair pieces, practice talking to people. If this is kind of new or different for you, just because you might be an aerospace engineer and your dream is to work for Raytheon or RTX doesn't necessarily mean you shouldn't go over and talk to Walsh Group, which is a construction engineering company that does basically all the freeways in Indianapolis right now. Go talk to them and just practice talking to them, asking them questions, practice your elevator pitch. All of those people are coming to this event specifically to talk to y'all, and they're thrilled to do it. Take advantage of that opportunity to practice those skills, to get another perspective on it. Hey, what do you think of this resume? Does this look appealing to you? Or is this one that you're going to toss in the recycling bin 2 seconds after you look at my funky header with the, pink paper and smells like perfume, Elle Wood style? I mean, whatever, like, but take advantage of the opportunity to talk to all of those people and just hear their perspectives. Practice your elevator pitch, practice introducing yourself. My name is Brian. I've got a master's degree in underwater basket weaving and I want to be an astronaut someday. Like whatever. Those are great opportunities to build yourself up so that the first time you're trying to do something isn't to your dream company that you're going to go, lock yourself in a dungeon if you fail to land a job with that company. Go talk to the companies you don't care about. Practice it on them. Who cares if you goof it up? You know what I mean? Like that's just good practice. Just use it as an opportunity to get some extra repetitions. Not everybody is a natural talker. Some people struggle at talking. Some people, like me, can't shut up. And so it's a good thing. We'll surprise you.
Yeah, and then you're like, oh, work for this place, and they offered me an interview. So that's what you do with resumes, put it on ICCL. Here are some of our resources. Things I will recommend if you want a resume looked at by a real person, and a career consultant or Brian is not available. I would say go to a quick chat with one of our peer consultants. Those are usually you can get them like within the week, if not within the day. I'd say right now they're probably a little bit busier than normal. We also have our beautiful career success handbook that has a QR link, but also a copy that you have in front of you. And then, of course, this is our Wise Docs, which was that thing that I showed a couple slides ago, where you can put your MOS in and it puts the job description all down for you. And like I said, the Wise Docs is new, so if you're using it and you like find something funky with it, please let us know at the CCO, because we're still like hammering that out to work specifically for us. And so break it, because we want you to, so we can make it better.
Software rewrites.
So other things, this is just our link to our website that has resources specifically for military and military connected students. And then we have some things I want you to consider. Start your resume early. Oh, I messed up on my slide a little bit, but that's okay. Anyway, start your resume early. Be open to change the resume in an evolving document. It changes as you do, and it changes for the job that you're looking for. And sometimes it changes for the job you're looking for. It doesn't have to be big changes. It just needs to be changes to match that job description better. You consider making a master resume that has all of your things that you've ever done on there. That's a personal document for yourself, so that when you're applying for those positions, you can like pick things out to make something more focused, more specific for that job. But I was trying to do this, and I messed up, was making this slide. I put myself up there, like, okay, anyway, I was really tickled by that. But these are some things that I want you to put on your calendar that are coming up. Here are some other things that the CCO is doing or will be present at, that the Veteran Military Success Center is doing, September 8th, which is Monday. The Military Connected Career Fair at 5:30. I will also say it was pretty smart to do it on a Monday, because those recruiters are fresh from the weekend and are not going to be tired yet. So just let you know.
There's a lot of strategic reasons why our career fair is that day and time.
So they'll be happy to talk to students. See them on a Friday, they'll want to probably, I don't know, they don't want to talk to you. But September 26th is the LinkedIn and Networking Workshop, 5:30 in this room.
Yep, right back here.
It's October 7th, CCO Tools and Services Workshop, right back in this room with me again. You can't escape me. I'm going to be at, including the Veteran Military Success Center, on these Tuesdays at 1:30 p.m. So if you are like wanting your documents checked out and looked at, come see me. I'll be there. Or if you just want to chat or discussion, or you just want to bother me for a little bit, I like it.
So, the event on the 26th, that LinkedIn networking workshop, that's designed for two things. One, to help you have an effective LinkedIn profile if you don't have one already. It's to talk about some of the strategies and techniques of using LinkedIn as a tool for networking in general, but also specifically for post-career fair networking. So you meet all these great and wonderful people and you have these great conversations. How do you keep engaged with them? How do you keep that conversation going? How do you keep developing kind of this relationship with these folks that you're talking to and these companies that you're interested in? We talk about some of that stuff that week. So that is, it's not the week after the career fair, it's 2 weeks after the career fair. I apologize for that. We'd have some events going on 9/11 and I couldn't make it all work out. But that's what that event is for. And then the CCO Tools and Services, for those of you who aren't familiar, CCO rolled out a whole plethora of new tools, new services, new platforms, new technology, all kinds of new stuff that has never existed before on this campus. It's all brand new this year. And so that's why I've invited Anna to come talk to us that night specifically about all the new cool gee whiz bang features that they have to be able to help prepare you for careers, just because I want you all to be aware of all of the different things that they do over there that I think most people are unaware of. I mean, there's interview practice stuff and there's all kinds of things. Great opportunity to learn more about how the university is trying to support you in your career efforts.
Both of those things are at the VMSC,
Which ones?
the LinkedIn and the CCO tool.
They'll be right here in this room.
Last week, that if you have specific food that you like, you should tell Brian.
Yeah. We did barbecue this week because that was what was asked for.
Let you know.
So if you want to go back to pizza, we can go back to pizza. If you want to do Jimmy John's, we can do Jimmy John's. Yeah, just gotta let me know what you want. And please RSVP because it helps me with head count, so I buy the right amount of food.
Keep that stuff in mind, folks. These are some next steps that you can do to stay connected with the CCO. Follow us on LinkedIn, follow us on Instagram. You also can log into your MyCCO account here. And I do say like following us on LinkedIn is also pretty important because like, for example, today we had a headshot booth that was kind of like last minute thrown together at the LGBTQ center in Hicks Undergraduate Library. And so we have that kind of stuff there. So please follow us. And then I think that's it. Yeah, some CCO resources. I
Questions?
should go.
What questions do you have for CCO or for Pamela from Artifacts?
For the professional headshots, is that done in Stewart still, or is there a different location for that?
It's still done in Stewart. Yeah, that is a permanent station.
Okay.
It's done in Stewart. The headshot thing that I was talking about was just like a pop-up shot.
Okay.
We used to do them through the VMSC. We would hire a professional photographer to come in and do headshots. But he got to be so astronomically expensive that we just couldn't afford to keep doing it because we just couldn't. All of our programming, like, so all of this stuff that we're doing for these career events, everything else, all the funding from that comes from donations and like corporate support. So we've got companies that will send us some money to help support our efforts. So we were paying for that photographer out of that money, and he got to the point where he stopped charging us by the number of people taken and started charging us flat fees. And I'd have a day where I'd have like 2 students show up for their pictures taken, and he was charging me $1,200. Like, I can't afford $600 a picture, man. Like, it's just too expensive. So, that was about the same time that the photo booth got set up in Stewart Center, and you could do it over there for free. And if you're in a huge pinch, email me ahead of time. I'm kind of an amateur photographer. I won a photo competition once that got me free passes to the national parks for life, even though I got it anyway because of the service. But I won a national parks photography competition, so I can take some pretty decent headshots if you give me a heads up and I bring my camera.
Sick.
And I'd say take them up on that offer, and it doesn't have to be fancy. My LinkedIn profile picture is literally a picture I made my husband take on my phone outside on our porch when we lived in Georgia. But you said.
Yeah, that was a good one. Resume questions. What? I know you're not all resume experts yet. Nobody is.
I know, like, places like IR and career fairs like that, you're kind of carpet bombing with your resumes to different employers, like the expectation of walking up to an employer, like, hey, I'd like to work for you, but pinpointing that exact job field or just giving them that elevator pitch of what I want to work in. Is it more of a, hey, here's my resume, if you have something that fits, that's great, or like, hey, I have this specific thing I want to do with you guys, something that you have?
Pamela, that sounds like a great question for you if you
Yeah.
can type in an answer. What I would say is, from my standpoint, I would strategize, I would do some research on CCO and those other pages and see who's coming, see who you're interested in, and then do some research over the weekend. Hey, I'm gonna make a list of, let's call it 10 employers that I'm interested in talking to. And I'm gonna go to their web pages, I'm gonna look at their abouts, and I'm gonna look at their mission statements, and I'm gonna look at their job postings. And I'm gonna see if I can find any jobs on there that I A, like, and B, feel like I'm a good fit for. And then I might tailor my resume specifically for that role with that company and print off a copy. And then look at a different company in a different role and edit the resume for that job and print off a copy. Now you gotta be careful you don't give the wrong resume to the wrong company, but I would approach particularly the handful of them that are like, hey, these are the ones I really want. I would take the time to craft out a resume for a specific role and go talk to them. Now, that's not to say you couldn't have a bunch of general ones in there. They're kind of ambiguous a little bit. They're just generally how awesome you are, and go talk to a bunch of other random companies too, because you never know what you might bump into. But I would definitely invest the time and the energy into targeting a few that are interesting to you. I know IR is a monster. I know it's huge. I know it can be time consuming and all that stuff, but I guarantee you there's at least 3 companies that are going to be sitting out there on that lawn that are really exciting to every one of you for whatever field you want to get into. It's just, it's the mathematical certainty with the amount of companies they got coming and the variety of industries and fields that they serve. That you're going to find somebody you like. There's going to be something interesting. And I would challenge you to go find something you don't like go find a company you've never heard of, but they do the thing you're looking for. You know what I mean? Like, there's some companies that nobody's ever heard of that they find really awesome jobs at. The company that hired Joe, I've never heard of it before. They make something that's based out of Noblesville, but he was all excited about it because it was in the area northeast of Indianapolis where he wanted to be. And his degree matched with what they did, and the job that they were hiring for was something that the function that he really enjoyed. And so it kind of lined up perfectly, but I'm like, no idea who that is, man. I'm super proud of you. And I'm really glad that they're giving you a huge offer for a job because that's really cool. So, panel says definitely do research and know what you want to do. Find me and I will direct you, but be specific. Right. Yep. Oh, you can't hear us. Weird.
Do any of them take paper copies, or does everybody want your resume submitted on?
Can you hear us now?
So, there will be companies that do take paper copies, that depends on me too.
That makes sense.
And I've also heard that if you do apply online beforehand and then also hand your resume in, they might make a note on your resume that this person's already in the system.
Gotcha.
But
Try to rejoin.
what other questions do you have, folks?
Resumes. Come on, ask them.
What are some of the shortfalls you see, especially from people who haven't necessarily done really anything other than college and military, and even then, maybe not even all the way through college? Like, what are the biggest shortfalls you see in those kind of resumes built as opposed to somebody's putting the time and actually just like weak bullet points, weak job descriptions, skills that aren't necessarily relevant, that kind of thing?
Yeah, and I'd also say though, discounting the experiences that you have, because there are so many things that you've done in your life that do have relevancy, but for some reason you're not picking up on it, that this is a relevant skill that employers would want to know that I have. So like thinking holistically about your experiences in your life, that's a shortfall then.
The challenge I see quite often in particular, our veteran students that are in that role you're talking about, where they basically did some college, they're doing college or did college and did the military and nothing else, is a friction point. I won't call it a problem. Friction point that they run into is relevant industry experience, right? So there's been a number of students who've come through and they're seniors getting ready to graduate, and they didn't bother to get an internship or do something to try to get some credibility in the field that they're trying to get into. And those folks have a really big uphill battle. So I would say getting the opportunity to get into some industry relevant experience and being able to add that into your resume, and whatever that looks like, whether that is getting an internship the summer of your junior year, going into your senior year in that industry, and being able to come into your, career fair fall, going into your senior year with just coming off an internship at a company that matters. Whether it's working projects. So if your degree aligns with what you want to do when you get out, working some projects or joining the club that's associated with that kind of degree and working on some things in that area to give yourself something outside of just the classroom. Your military experience is going to speak a lot to specific people. Most people in general have a supportive view of the military. It's viewed in a favorable light. Some people don't understand the value, not really. They understand veterans are good and veterans are helpful and come with these intangible traits, but if they don't have a broad experience in having veterans as part of their teams, some of them miss out on the game-changing value. And I will use this as an example. We have another employer partner who I was trying very hard to get involved with our office for a long time. And they kept telling me, no, we're good with our current recruiting efforts. We don't need to do anything extra with you. By luck,
a friend of mine that I'd known outside that ended up transferring companies and got a job with this company. And he reached out and said, hey, I want to do stuff for our organization with you. Let's put something together. We did that. A couple of students got hired. And the next thing you knew, that company was saying, these are the best people we've hired in like ever. Where do we get more? And all of a sudden they're beating on my door saying, what can we do with the VMSC? How do we meet more of your students? We want to hire as many as we can get our grubby little hands on. And it was like, all they needed to see was a couple of those star student veterans showing up there and kicking butt like rock stars for them to go, oh my God. Like we hired this person at like an entry level position, but they're performing at somebody who's got 10 years of experience already. And they're killing it and they're getting promoted ahead of their peers and they're moving up levels of responsibility. They're doing all these great and wonderful things. We want as many as we, saying, so there's some companies that they need to have their eyes opened a bit, but there's some companies, RTX being one of them, knows the value of the veteran talent and they are all about it. And so you might not need anything other than your education because your Purdue, that P on your certificate is worth its weight in gold. And then your military experience to go with it because they understand those intangible assets you're bringing with you. So that it's industry specific, it's job specific, but that's usually the most common friction point I see with veterans is lack of relevant industry experience. And it's something that I try to encourage folks early to be intentional about trying to tear that down or work that down before you're standing on the carpet with hoping to get hired. So, yes,
What would be a more natural way of handing a resume to a recruiter at a career fair?
fold up in a paper airplane, throw it out.
Yeah.
No, I'm kidding. Generally, I would say introduce yourself, right? Shaking hands, introducing yourself, doing your elevator pitch, having a little bit of a conversation, and then kind of work it in there. Well, I brought a resume. I'd love to leave it with you, and you just kind of pull it out of your Padfolio or wherever you've got it kept so that it's neat and not crumpled up in your pocket. And you can hand them a copy as part of that conversation. So you just kind of work it into a position. Oh, I prepared a resume. Love the opportunity to leave it with you if that's okay. And just hand it to them. Good question though. It does get a little weird, like,
Cause I don't wanna say like, just here's my resume.
to like we fist bump or bro hug or like, it does get a little weird, a little awkward, especially for people who aren't, don't spend a lot of time meeting people and doing those introductions. So I say, go to these career fairs, practice it. Walk into the VMSC and practice your elevator pitch on the student work study who's sitting behind the desk. You know what I mean? Like practice. It might seem weird. You might feel like, that's embarrassing. Nah, not if it lands you a job, it's not.
So in a specific setting like that, you know why that recruiter is there, the recruiter knows why you're there. It's not just because you're having a fun time in your life.
This is a great point. Pamela brings up, make sure you have an electronic version of your resume. RTX does not accept paper copies. If you have a paper copy, they'll take a picture of it.
A piece of paper with the QR code going to your.
Alright, just that.
That QR code. Okay,
Like they can scan it on their phone and it goes right to their file.
gotcha.
And then,
Gotcha.
Yep, that's a good tip. Thanks, Pamela. Because there are some companies that won't take the paper copies. So. What else? The question I haven't heard asked is what goes on top, experience or education? What do you put first? So you got your header with your information, who you are, where you live, how to contact you. What's the next thing down in the paper? Is it your experience or your education?
All of these, I haven't seen education.
On all of those, they're not veterans. On all of those, the most valuable asset they're bringing to that employer is their education. So it's the chicken or the egg?
It's experience, because that's the most valuable asset for us. I know we're coming off of.
Maybe. If you're an infantryman, your military experience isn't probably that relevant
So is it,
if you're gonna go be a rocket scientist, huh?
is it just dependent on?
Depending on the person, depends on the role, depends on the company, right? So when you're sitting down and you're deciding, hey, I'm gonna build this resume and I'm gonna build it for RTX. Right? Because I'm gonna apply with Pamela because she's awesome and I want a job with RTX because they're awesome and we have a ton of our alumni students that work for them and they're awesome. So this is what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna go on there and I'm gonna look at their job description, right? And I'm gonna read through it and I'm gonna say, honest evaluation assessment. What about me is the most important way to answer their requirements? What am I bringing that's most valuable for this particular role? Is it my military experience? Right? So I'll use a different example. My job here at Purdue, when I was applying for this role as the assistant director of the Veteran Military Success Center, I have a bachelor's degree. My bachelor's degree is in hospitality, sports and tourism management with a focus in sports management from Troy University. Does Purdue care that I can manage professional sports to do my job at the VMSC? Or do they care that I have 22 years of experience in the military and experience using military education benefits in various forms? What's more valuable to this role? Is it my bachelor's degree or is it this experience I have? So you have that honest evaluation, that conversation. If you have that conversation with yourself and say, hey, this is what I'm bringing, this isn't what I'm bringing, you know, yada, 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 that kind of dictates what you want to put first. Because remember, as a former hiring manager, we're gonna flip to one of these resumes here. I might have a stack of them that made it through my applicant tracking system, and I'm gonna look at these resumes. And I'm gonna say, I'm gonna look here at the April agriculture, just so you guys can follow along. All right, April agriculture, education, Purdue University, that's cool. Relevant experience, economics advising, Spring Meadow Nursery, Nutrien Ag Solutions, ho-hum, and I'm looking to see, I'm not reading those bullets. This is me personally speaking as a former hiring manager. I'm not reading those bullets. You know why I'm not reading those bullets? What's not in any of those bullets? Numbers. There's not a number in any one of those bullets. So I don't have time for that. So I'm reading job descriptions and I'm reading companies that you work for. I get down to agriculture impact. Okay, agricultural economics, Envoy, Purdue Rising Professionals. Oh, we have numbers. Developed and managed 7 separate schedules for 54 individuals over a 3-day program. That's cool. Nope. Look how many other words are on that table, on that page. What did I read? I read her name. I read where she went to school. I read those positions and companies. And I read the one bullet that had numbers in it. And I threw her in the not interested pile. Because I've got a whole stack of others to look at. Now, I'm not necessarily throwing the trash can yet, but I threw her in the uninteresting pile because there wasn't a whole lot there to like wow me. I'm looking in this other pile to see if there's anybody in there that wows me. Those people automatically go in the yes pile. If when I get done through my initial review, there aren't enough people in the yes pile for me to feel comfortable scheduling interviews, then I'll go back to the ho-hums and they'll dig a little deeper to see if I can find somebody to fill out that. Like, hey, I want to do 10 interviews. I only found 7 rock stars. I'm going back to the ho-hums for 3 more, just to find 3 more to give me my 10. Yep. Everybody else went the trash can. And that's all I looked at. So you spend all this time, because I know writing resumes is a pain, getting all this stuff formatted, getting it oriented, getting it put on the page, all that stuff's annoying and difficult and time consuming. And you did all that and I read 17 words on the whole page. Yeah. You got to kind of be intentional. You always got to remember, what is the resume's job? This document has a job. What's the job? Get the interview. If it's not written and prepared to get you the interview, you wasted your time. Don't waste your time just creating a resume to have a resume. Create a resume that somebody's going to want to call you. Somebody's going to want to have a conversation with you. Meets their needs in their job description, meets their minimum requirements, because there's certain jobs that by law, you've got to meet their threshold for minimum requirements before they can hire you. And you stand out in the crowd. How many here are getting a degree from Purdue? All of y'all. How many of y'all have had part-time jobs before? Most of y'all. How many of you done some kind of school, group activity, club, Greek life, something on campus, social-wise?
all y'all. Guess what? So does every other of the 50,000 undergraduate students on this campus. But if you put numbers in there that show impact, right? Remember I said the comment I made was companies measure things that are important. So if you can show measurable numbers, then you were working on something that was important to that organization. Now we're talking. Now I've got some things to read and I've got some stuff to be interested about you. And now I'm gonna give you a call for an interview. Okay? What else? There's no such thing as a perfect resume. You can't write one resume and be done. You just can't. You know, the other secret to the resumes that's a real bugger? You have no idea who's reading it. So I could be really interested in wanting to see numbers in all your bullets, or I'm not reading the bullets. She could be more interested in wanting to see something different. You wrote a resume to appeal to me, and she's the one that reads it. You still ended up in the recycling bin. It's very frustrating. It's very difficult. And you don't know. It's like taking the pop quiz in the first day of class. I have no idea. I've never learned any of this material in this course, and now I'm being tested on it.
What do you think most people look for?
This stuff, the stuff I'm talking about.
Numbers and just titles?
Yeah.
And positions and, okay.
Right. Anybody can write flowery words. Anybody can write a sentence about how they did something cool at someplace fun and it was important.
Yeah.
Numbers speak a different language. Numbers stand out on the page. Because remember, you're talking to people who are very busy, who are reading a lot of these at a time. And when I'm looking through there and all I see are letters, it's very easy not to catch anything. But all of a sudden I see a number and that just catches my eye and kind of pulls me to that bullet. And I want to see something. Now, I don't think you should have numbers on every single bullet unless you just did something that was always measurable and quantifiable and you could do that. Don't like force numbers on there where they don't naturally kind of fit. But don't just fill your pages with words unless you're writing a resume to go be a writer for some kind of a news media thing where you're, or trying to be an author. Like this one here. I see consolidated toolkits custodian. I see an 80, I see 8,700, I see 300,000, 23rd, 1,300, 850. All of those things caught my eye. Those are bullets I'm going to read. Because it's got something in it worth reading. It's telling me something other than just your opinion of something that happened.
I was just telling them, this is how we, like, aerospace consultant and consolidated toolkit custodian, engine and immediate maintenance technician. And that's how we are.
So I like this on here with the United States Air Force Aerospace Propulsion Journeyman with those bracketed windows for somebody who had a fairly small or shorter career in the military, because that's easy to encapsulate. If I write that, I gotta write that it started in September of 1999 and ended in October of 2021. That's a little overwhelming to read that way. So my advice for you is if you've got something where your time in service was a little bit shorter, absolutely, you can write it like that. That's a great way to do it. If you're somebody who had a longer career or spends a lot longer in an organization, wouldn't necessarily categorize it as that. Because maybe I spent 5 years as a consolidated toolkit custodian. So that's kind of a micro career under that employer. And then I spent another 4 years as a jet engine immediate maintenance technician, and then I spent another 4 years as something else, you know what I'm saying? So like each of those roles, when you're in them for several years at a time, end up being kind of like micro careers, particularly military, because they're very different in the tasks and responsibilities and the level of responsibility for leadership, subordinates, and everything else. So it's a way to think about it. But everything we say about resumes is kind of a way. Like I said, there's no such thing as a perfect resume. And you're writing for somebody you've never met. How do I write something that's going to capture the eye and the attention of somebody I've never met before? It's fair. Sorry. Part of what we'll talk about in the LinkedIn and the networking workshop coming up in a couple of weeks is about trying to build some advocates within the organization. Right, you've met this person either a career fair or you reach out to them through LinkedIn to do a coffee call and you're picking their brain, trying to get some informational interviews out of them and talk to them, you can build a relationship with those kinds of people and develop them into allies within the organization. And they become your advocates. And some of those people will help you maybe get through the applicant tracking system or make sure your resume and your application ends up in the hands of that hiring manager for their personal review, that kind of stuff. And that's literally how I got this job. Purdue's applicant tracking system shot me down. My resume did not meet Purdue's requirements for this role, which is hilarious. But it didn't. And if it wasn't for my time here as an ROTC instructor and having friends on campus who called HR and said, no, forward that application. That's definitely one the hiring manager wants to see. I wouldn't be here.
Also know your-
Hmm. I applied for a lot of jobs when I first retired, and I applied for a lot of jobs when I was transitioning from my sports career. And I got exactly 0 interviews on blind applications. I wrote my resume, did all the things I recommend to you all. And if I sent it to a company, I never talked to anybody there, I never met anybody, I got exactly 0 interviews. But every single company I applied to where I had a conversation with somebody at a career fair, or I had done some informational interview calls and talked to somebody there, or I got 100% interview rate on that. Every single one of those resulted in an interview. And then at that point, you gotta go in the interview and do what you gotta do to land a job offer. But I was over blind applying, and I was batting 1,000 if I had somebody I knew that worked there that I had had conversations with and was working as my ally and my advocate. And some of those folks are just like Pamela here, where, you know, you send in the application for RTX with your resume, you've done all that stuff, and you come to October at the career fair, like, yeah, I applied for, Pamela, do you guys do, like job numbers for your positions? So they could come to you and say, hey, I applied for job 21025, or is it job titles? Numbers. So you can say, I applied for position 210, 566.
Yeah.
And they'd be like, oh, great. And maybe they jot a note down that I talked to, Brian at the career fair, he applied for this position. And maybe there's a note in there like, super interesting guy, very intelligent, great conversation, but there's some kind of a personal note in there. And now that person's legitimately interested in trying to help you get into the interview process and potentially be a new employee.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
That only can work in your favor. She says and titles, but the number's better to have. Cause you guys are hiring what, like 50,000 people right now? And RTX is a huge company.
Can you hear me?
She heard that. Anyway, and a lot of the campus recruiters and the people you'll see at these career fairs aren't necessarily the hiring manager. They're not necessarily aware of all the specifics of all the jobs. Some of them are, but some of them are just that's their job as campus recruiting, talent acquisition. Their job is to funnel candidates towards the hiring managers by getting you to apply those positions online and that kind of stuff. Yes, they're hiring a large number of people. So that's, and sometimes the people you'll talk to at the career fairs, particularly our career fair, they might not even be campus recruiters or hiring people at all. They're literally just veteran employees of the organization that came to our career fair to be translators. Right? So Jake here is the campus recruiter. He doesn't know jack about the military. You can tell by his mustache. He's coming to Purdue University. He's signed up to come to the Military Connected Career Fair, and because his company's got a push to hire veterans, so he calls me up and says, "Hey Brian, I know you're a veteran. Would you be available to come with me on this recruiting trip and help me out?" And so he brings the veteran with him to sit in this career fair and talk to y'all Monday night. I have companies that will do that. I have some companies that the campus recruiter is a veteran. I have some companies that they have a military talent acquisition team. That's their job, is going out and finding veteran talent. So it's every company does it a little bit different. So yeah. So
Pamela says, I have both hiring managers and what we call talent assessors joining me on campus. The talent assessors are empowered to hire for a hiring manager. So like she said earlier, she's coming with interview slots and people that have the authorization to hire. Literally bringing jobs to your doorstep. Pamela, what are you guys looking for internships? You got a bunch of internships you're trying to fill this year? I'm assuming yes. For my juniors. Yep. So they've got internships experiences for as well. So if you're not in that window looking for, I'm about to be a graduating senior looking for a job. If you're looking for that internship experience, they'll have internship experiences as well. Sweet. What, any other questions about resumes? Do yourselves a favor, come to the career fair Dress for Success. Okay? Take the time to get a haircut, shave, trim. Your beard looks great today, by the way. Well done. But put on some, I mean, I'm not saying you gotta come in like a tuxedo with tails, but you should probably be dressed in a suit and tie, or, shirt and tie, as formal as you can get with whatever you've got at your disposal. The lending closet's available, but they do have limited sizes, so you can go to the CCO and they'll issue you a set of professional clothing if they have it your size. Good for a year. One outfit for that school year. And
Is that free?
Purdue, yes.
Yes.
Purdue has a partnership with JCPenney where there's a coupon code that you can go to JCPenney's and get a discount on buying shirts and suits and ties and belts and shoes and stuff. And that coupon code is associated with your cell phone number. So if you have a cell phone and say your mom has a cell phone and say your dad has a cell phone, say your little brother who's 12 has a cell phone, you could get multiple discount codes for multiple shopping trips. Just saying.
Brother's screwed if he comes to Purdue.
It'll reset every year.
Okay.
So,
So 30% off.
and we also have one for workwear, and I did scan that QR code, so if you're needing like one for boots or
Yep,
something.
boots and
Yeah.
Carhartts and all kinds of stuff.
Is that online, in the CCO stuff?
Yeah, I'd take a picture with them, that's the easiest way. I could probably send you that.
I tried to get it into the newsletter this week that went out today. The newsletter was being super fickle. If you look at the bottom of the newsletter term today, the messages from SAO went in and completely unformatted themselves. So it went in all nice and neat, looked organized. And what actually went out in the email looks like a shotgun blast of words and letters. Like it just discombobulated the whole section. It's all almost unbearable. So Delivera is an amazing tool, which I'm so glad the university is getting rid of.
Oh,
You see what I'm saying at the bottom? It got all weird.
especially worse.
Yeah, see what I'm saying? Like it got way weird. Like, I don't know what happened to Deliver today, but it definitely took a left turn. Business casual does work. Nice button down shirt. They've got internships and entry levels. Latest from panel. So, I mean, dressing like this, if this is the best you got, dressing like this is perfectly acceptable. You want to put your best foot forward. You want to make the best first impression you can. Yeah. And I will say this, if none of the companies that are coming to the career fair suit your fancy, like I said, come anyway, but you can email me and say, hey, I am really interested in XYZ companies as we're looking forward. I'll reach out to those companies and I'll make a connection with their talent acquisition teams and see if they're interested in recruiting veteran military connected talent from Purdue. So far, I'm batting 1,000 on that. I've never had a company tell me, no, they're not interested in Purdue veterans and military connected students. It just means I haven't developed a relationship with those folks yet. So if what you're seeing is not what you're looking for, hey, I'm a construction management guy, and you didn't get any construction management companies. Great, tell me who you'd like to work for, and I'll reach out to those companies and see if we can build a relationship. Yeah.
That sounds good.
So, and come, we've got charcuterie. So we got like cheese and crackers and stuff, like little snack. So a couple years ago, we did barbecue. And it was great
Until you're spilling all.
because nobody ate it.
Cause then I got to take all the leftovers back here. No, so nobody would touch the food. And I was like, duh, nobody wants to get barbecue all over their business attire or their business.
Or all over your resume, like, oh.
Right, walk out with like pulled pork and barbecue sauce in their face. I was like, that was a terrible idea. It's amazing food. It's delicious.
Okay.
It is not super friendly for trying to stay neat. So we went with cheese and crackers, little hors d'oeuvre stuff that's, you know, finger food edible, not gonna make a mess out of you. So it'll be a good time. I ordered enough food for 100 people, so there should be plenty. Yeah. Awesome. What else? I mean, technically, you still got 12 or 22 minutes left of time if you've got questions or things you want to talk about.
Outside of the days that you're gonna be upstairs in the office, if we wanna get you to look at the resume, just pop in, or do you just want?
You can pop in and see if I'm available. I do work a day remote a week-ish. And my days move based on the crap I've got going on campus every week. Another way to do it is just email me, be like, hey, I want to stop by on Tuesday, are you gonna be in? Or just email me and say, hey, can you take a look at the resume? If you're gonna send it to me in email, give me a couple of days to get back to you, because you might catch me in one of those days where my hair's on fire. And it might take me a couple of days to be able to sit down and give you the honest attention that your resume deserves. But I will look at your resumes, I will offer critiques, I will offer feedback. If that's what you want. Or you can come, you know, like I said, send me an email, we'll schedule an appointment, we can sit in my office and we can rewrite the thing together. You guys don't know Mike Whitfield, but he graduated and left recently. Michael was almost a permanent fixture in my office, getting ready for this time in his junior year as he was looking for his internship stuff. And he ended up doing 2 internships. He did 1 internship his sophomore year, 1 internship his junior year. His sophomore internship was actually with RTX. So he went out to Boston and worked an internship for them over the summer. And then his junior year, he worked for, crap, I can't think of the name of the company. Big company in the Midwest. Anyway, he went and worked, but we sat and we like agonizingly went over every syllable on his resume to make sure he was being as intentional and as impactful as he could be. And his resume worked. He got the interview. So, and then Michael was a really, really bright cat. So he was able to secure internships and stuff. So. Yeah, you're very welcome to come by. You're very welcome to just email me. You're very welcome to send me an email, book an appointment, whatever works best for you. I have to be flexible because y'all's schedules are nightmares. What else?
This is a resume question. Elevator pitch. Like, what is the best, most efficient manner to give a quick, like, down and dirty elevator pitch?
That's a really great question. Very individualized and personal. I'll give you mine. Okay. So my elevator pitch goes a little something like this. Hi, my name is Brian Harvick. You know, and this is me interviewing for Sport Job. Brian Harvick, I'm about to graduate with my sports management degree from Florida University. I did 22 years active duty in the United States military, and sports saved my relationship with my kids.
Short, sweet, that's the point.
But do you want to know more?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, yeah.
I hit that thing that like, ooh, like, sports save your relationship with your kids. That's the story. Go. It's to try to be a little bit interesting, but to definitely lead into a larger conversation if they've got the time and energy for it.
Yeah.
Long story short, going to a sporting event really did save my relationship with my kids. It was the entire reason I shifted my degree into sports management and graduated, and then went into the professional sports field when I retired. And then I realized the schedule didn't work for my kids. And so while sports saved that relationship, it was then killing it. So I turned into here. But if you've got something to be interesting, something to be a hook, right? So like when I was interviewing interns to come work for us in sports, one of the worst things they could tell me was I was a high school athlete, or I used to play sport.
Congratulations, so are the other 3 guys.
I'm not hiring people to play. Teams already got players. I'm hiring people to put on an entertainment event. I'm here to put on an event for other people to enjoy. Talk to me about that.
Yeah.
I don't want you standing there watching the game on the field. I want you serving our customers in whatever capacity we're hiring you to serve them in.
Yeah.
So if you've got something about the company that's interesting, if you've got something about the position, if you've got something about some of the organization's doing that's really interesting to you, right? So let's say RTX is developing a new generation of rocket propulsion that's going to lead us finally to exploring Mars with a manned mission. And you've read about it on an article or saw something about it, and that's really like, you're super pumped to be part of a project that's gonna put people on Mars. Put that in your elevator pitch. Like, if that's what really motivates you to go work for that company while you're over there talking to them, work that in. Like, my name's Brian, and I'm studying, astrophysics here at Purdue University. I read an article about Raytheon or RTX that says you guys are developing a rocket propulsion fuel that's gonna land land people on Mars. I'm super excited about that, and then you transition the company. Worst thing you can say is, hi, my name's Brian, I'm studying this at here, and what do you guys do? Like, so what's RTX do?
Lots of things.
Yeah, like, just set your resume on the table and we'll call you. Like, don't be that person. At least know what the company does. And what we talked about last week in the career fair prep is, so let's say you're walking around IR, right? And you're talking to the company you wanted to talk to. You guys have a really great conversation, and you're getting ready to go talk to the next company that you researched, and you want to have a great conversation with them, but their line is super long. And you look over here and this table's not doing anything right now, but you have no idea what LG does. Now I'm gonna go over here and I'm gonna Google search LG under a tree for about 5 minutes, whatever that is on your shirt. I'm gonna figure out what they do. I'm gonna figure out what kind of positions they hire for. And if it's something that aligns, now I've got something I can be like, I just read this really interesting post on LinkedIn about LG, and you guys are opening this new line of t-shirt making materials in Kokomo, whatever. Like, it shows you've got interest. It shows you've done some research. It shows that you're capable of understanding what their mission is. And ultimately, why do companies hire people?
Because they have interest.
No. Why do companies have employees?
Because they need them.
Oh, the
They
interest.
provide value.
To make money. You gotta do a job that makes the company money, right? Unless you're working for a nonprofit, the goal is to do the thing that makes the company money. And if you can be an asset and you can add value to the organization by doing the job and helping them make money or do the thing that they do, then you're somebody you want to hire. But if you can't articulate that in your conversation, in your resume or cover letter or in your interview process, it gets challenging. So RTX is Collins Aerospace, Pratt & Whitney, and Raytheon, so it's the full family. Thank you. So they do a lot of different stuff under the RTX banner. RTX is the overarching for those three organizations. And we actually have people that are in all three branches of RTX that have come through the MSC before. So, elevator pitch, you just try to be natural. Like, how would you walk up and talk to somebody new and interesting?
That stuff makes me really anxious.
Huh?
It makes me anxious talking to strangers, but you gotta get over it.
That's why you don't practice.
Okay, but I really liked what I saw from you last week.
Yeah.
And so what you did last week was effective. So while anxious, you were still very memorable to that employer partner. They talked about you after you left, and not in bad ways.
That's kind of like.
So what I'm saying is you might have felt super anxious, you might have felt super nervous, you may have felt like you didn't do a very good job, but you were memorable. They were talking about you after you left. And like I said, in complimentary ways. Had a great conversation, super bright guy. Like these were some of the words that they were using about you after you'd walked away. So you might not have felt like it delivered the Harry Houdini ta-da moment, but you didn't do bad. So it's not one size fits all. right? And you don't necessarily have to have this life altering experience that changes your entire family dynamic to land a hook in somebody to be interesting to them that leads to a deeper and more meaningful conversation. It helps, but it doesn't have to be that. It just has to be something you're passionate about. You know, I want to get into this job. You know, you guys do chemical, whatever, because I've been super passionate about it since I was 12 when I blew my eyebrows off for the home chemistry set. And I have never looked back. All I've ever wanted to do was figure out how to make molecules go together and make new things. Whatever, like,
Yeah.
whatever it is that drives you. Like, what are you studying?
Chemical engineering.
Okay, what do you want to do when why do you want to do chemical engineering?
I either want to go oil and gas, solar panels or, pharmaceuticals.
I've got a really good partnership with BP.
Real.
Yeah.
I'm really close with one of their talent acquisition guys.
Huh?
Comes in, I'll connect you guys. I'll introduce you to him so you guys can have a conversation. Awesome. But what is it about that inspires you? Why were you the little kid that decided to come to Purdue University to go to chemical engineering?
My high school chemistry teacher, he owns the pad for the glucose meter,
Okay,
which got me interested in that. So then I was gonna go pharmaceuticals, and then with more research, I learned that I actually really like the oil and gas industry
okay,
and inhibited bugs, which is another.
don't say that.
No, I don't. I just kind of enjoy it.
Okay. Talk about that. Talk about what makes you passionate. What are you studying again? I'm sorry.
Computer science.
Computer science. Why do you like computers?
I mean, I started computers because I played video games really young, like when my dad wasn't around.
Okay.
And, I got into like modifying them, and I was influenced by teachers in the high school. But now I want to do more specifically cybersecurity stuff.
Okay. Would you say computers and that cyber, you know, kind of secure, that cyber world is a safe space for you? Someplace you feel at home?
Oh, yeah.
So my name is Brian. I'm studying cybersecurity and super interested in the field because computer science and cybersecurity is kind of where I feel at home. That's not a bad one. Someone.
I mean, this is kind of off topic, back to maybe stupid resume question. So like, in a lot of jobs cases, like case in point, RTX, like where your security clearance status might gain or lose you, like.
Yeah,
It's like, you include your security clearance in your resume, like,
You can.
I hold a top secret.
You can, if, so some of that stuff won't transfer, right? So some of it you can't take with you. But if you have one, it proves you can get one,
Right.
and that's a significantly lower risk for that employer. So if you've got a security clearance and you're interested in working in security clearance positions, I would definitely put security clearance on there. Because security clearance, like to run a security clearance background investigation, all that stuff is expensive. And that's money they never get back if you fail. So if you have one or have held one recently, that is an assurance to the organization that they can invest that money into running that check on you. And if it's not still good and transfer, then you will at least be a very good candidate to get a new one. And therefore less risk for them. So yes, please include security clearances if that's the thing you're looking for. I know she said yes in bold letters. I know RTX loves security clearances. Because they probably are working on rockets to send people to Mars. And that was just a joke. But what else? What are you studying?
Finance this time.
Finance. Why?
I like having complete data to make future decisions.
That's a good answer. That's a really good answer. That might be something you could use in an elevator pitch.
Keep it there.
That's a good answer. I mean, that is a really good answer. That's not an answer like, well, it seemed like a good idea at the time, or I read a Forbes list that says it's the top 11, paying industries in the country right now. Those are weak answers. But if it's something true to you, if it's something like that actually resonates down deep in your chest, then great.
Civil engineering.
Why?
I'm looking into either doing architectural or
Okay.
transportation.
Okay,
Architectural, just I've been interested in buildings for all my life.
okay,
My uncle I went to Purdue,
Okay.
Purdue engineer, and he does civil engineering full time now. So he's always been a big role model in my life. I want to follow in his footsteps.
started as a civil engineering student. I got into, I started in civil engineering because I couldn't stand when people designed roads terribly that led to traffic.
Yeah, that's
It
kind of
drove me crazy that this isn't a traffic problem, this is a road design problem, and somebody could have designed this better. That's why I went that way originally.
yeah.
Yes.
I wasn't gonna say it. Traffic's better now.
But
Yeah.
But that's something, talk about what inspired you to get into your major? What inspires you about that company or the role that you're interested in and you've researched on the webpage? Any of that stuff is awesome because it lets us see you. We're not seeing just this polished version of yourself with your hair combed and, you know, your nice clothes on. Please iron them. Don't just get the JCPenney shirts with the creases still in them. The pinholes, like you just pulled out of the wrapper this morning. But it lets us see you. It lets us, you know, kind of peel back the curtain and meet the wizard a little bit. And if you can articulate that in a way that puts yourself in that positive light, that, you know, show, hey, this is who I am, and this is why I'm interesting. This is why I'm interested. That can be huge. That kind of stuff holds a lot of weight. Again, resume's job is to get you the interview, but there are other ways to get the interview. Yeah, and you don't have to be a natural talker who loves jumping up on a podium and talking to people all day. You don't have to be. There's a world full of people who don't necessarily get super comfortable having conversations with strangers. They were all successful too. What else? Feels like we're wrapping up. Anybody got anything else for the group? All right, one last shameless pitch. Monday night, 5:30, upstairs. Be here. Come meet these employees. Come hang out for a little bit, talk to them. You don't have to spend all night there. You don't have to spend the full 2 hours. You can come in, spend 30 minutes talking to them and roll out. Yes.
I guess this might have been said before I got here. On like looking on a resume, I guess on mine currently I have like experience, I have a big block of experience, and I have a smaller block of like kind of like campus involvement, like
Okay.
community involvement.
Okay.
Is that a good ratio, like having more? Obviously, you want to have some involvement from your community on there, but
Sure.
you want the majority to be the experience.
Again, I go back to the answer of
Is what job?
what is it
Yeah.
that's answering the bell for their interest? Their job description, their requirements, their mission statement, their vision statement, those things that you can find on their about page.
Yeah.
How do you check those boxes? If your experience is how you check those boxes, great. If a blend of your education and experience checks those boxes, go with the blend. If more of your education is the reason why you should be considered for the position, maximize your education. Talk a little bit about your experience. It really is, I mean, the job descriptions are kind of that magic formula. It's again, the peek, using the same analogy in a different way, the peek behind the curtain at the wizard. What are you looking for? You know, what is it you're looking for? I've seen people use AI for that too. Pull up a job description, copy and paste it into an AI. Summarize or give me an overview of what the critical things are about this job that this company's looking for. And see what AI reads how AI reads that job description, spits it back to you. And then take it and put it in a different chat. You know, you put it in Chat GPT and then drop it in Gemini or whatever and have it do the same thing and see if there's any similarities. See if the two different AIs came up with the same answers. Yeah, they're really looking for these 3 soft skills, these 2 hard skills, and there's a critical need for these set of certifications, because you're a cybersecurity guy, you gotta have these certifications to meet the requirements. And just see what it says.
Thank you.
Or you talk to these folks and say, hey, I was reading that job description. I'm trying to understand what all the requirements and stuff are. Can you shed some light on it? Can you help me understand what it is that, you know, this stuff's saying? Because I'm not super familiar or experienced reading through job descriptions and trying kind of dissect them and glean insights from them. And see if the campus liaisons and recruiters with people that are here are willing to kind of peel it back with you, especially at the smaller ones. Those smaller career fairs, our career fair, the ones through the colleges where you don't stand in line for 2 hours, like those opportunities that can really kind of take advantage of that opportunity to communicate directly with a human being. Anything else? That's a good question. Remember, resume is a tool and it has a job, like a hammer. You don't turn screws with a hammer. Pound nails with a hammer. Use the resume for the job that it's intended to do, which is get you into the interview chair. So you can dazzle them with your ability to answer the interview questions in the STAR method. And talk about how you align well with their, their values and their missions and all other stuff.
Slides.
Send them, Brian, goes in the meeting.
Yep, cool. Pamela, you got anything else for the good of the order before we sign off?
Slides and in and out, willingness.
So Pamela, on behalf of us here, I want to thank you for joining us. We really appreciate you taking the time to spend some time with us and share your insights. We look forward to seeing y'all here on Monday for our event. She's looking forward to seeing everybody on Monday. All right, so with that, I'm gonna stop the recording and end the call. Stop recording. And if there was something y'all missed,